All right, hello everybody. Hello everybody. This is Todd from the Table Ready podcast. We're going to be talking about some list building today on this episode. We are live on Twitch and on TikTok, so if you want to jump in and add some conversation, ask some questions, I'm just going to be going over some list building items and figured today, since I actually had the opportunity second time live, I'm going to show off a couple of my miniatures that I've been working on. And just to prove that I am a painter, believe it or not, um, I did come up with, I am working on Shatterpoint, and I have this guy, I believe his name's Kalani. He did come with the box set. His colors were originally green, but we wanted to do him in more of a blue color. Uh, I am working on Malgan Ra, so he's obviously did a lot of the block coloring so far, and a lot of purples and blacks, and of course Bone. I got very close to finishing Azrael today. Well, actually, the other day. There's a couple details that I found that I really want to jump back on, but he's in good shape. He's definitely table ready at this point. And then, of course, the big guy that I've been working on lately, and I've been working on him off and on, has been the lion. And of course, his model's amazing. The base itself has been done for a little while. Put a lot of the gamer grass on there. It's got a little bit of cat hair, so I apologize about that if you're watching. But there he is. I still am going to do his hood purple to match those, and do a lot of the little bit of detail stuff that needs to get done. And of course, I am working on a Mutalith Vortex Beast, and as you can tell, Thousand Suns colored. I did a lot of the metallic work. Everything does look good with him. And of course, now I need to go back and do some of these detail work on the blue just to touch up. Because most of my Thousand Suns, I actually went with I sprayed them the metallic color, and then just block painted the insets. But because there was a lot more flesh on this guy, I figured I'd do it the other way around, and I'm not going to do that again. So, because it's only like 3 times the amount of work instead of 2 times the amount of work. So, but anyway, what I did want to talk about today, after that little bit of a bump up there, was I did want to talk about list building a little bit. And I know that everybody out there has their own kind of process about how to build lists for 40K. And yeah, everybody has their own favorite program, whether it's the Warhammer app, or I've been a big fan of New Recruit lately. It seems to be up to date, and everything seems to be really good on it. So I've been trying to use that more and more. What I'm working on, what I want to work with today, I should say, is uh, a little bit of what you're looking for when you're going to build an army. And of course, obviously, there's 2 different armies that you're going to build. If you're building for a tournament and you want the latest greatest internet list, you can just shut the thing off, and we're kind of done here. Because you can go onto Reddit or Discord, or any of these different places, and just grab the list put the model, buy the models, put the models together, or if you have a whole commitment of miniatures, like somebody that's been playing a very long time, that's certainly something that you can do. You can just jump on there and, you know, paint up that list, take it to your next tournament, run practice games, whatever you're going to do before you're going to jump into that tournament, and um, just go from there. If you want to, um, I'm talking more like games between you and your friends, games between, whether you're going to start running a crusade campaign or you're going to start doing, anything like that, where you're just having fun with your buddies, some beer and pretzel games, or whatever you drink, soda or wine or whiskey or whatever. If that's the kind of games that you're going to play, then you know this is that kind of list. And like, we always try to be more competitive in my group, um, but we're also not running out every week to buy the new box set, the new hotness, because uh, I'm been in this for a long time. I don't get to play as many games as I would like to, but excuse me, I certainly try to jump on and get as many games as I can when the availability's there. But um, what I am going to say is, um, I always look for a more competitive game, but more fun. So, the last couple games that I played have actually been Combat Patrol, so there was no list building involved. But what I wanted to do was, and of course, I'm going to use Space Marines as an example because more people play Space Marines than any other army, so they're the most um, relatable. And, the first couple of things that I want to talk about is, like, how many units do you want? So, you're talking in a 2,000 point army, you want to try to get as many units as you can in, and that's going to obviously dictate how many objectives you can hold. That's going to dictate, your how aggressive, or if you need to kind of skirt the opponent, and what kind of other units that you really want to put in your army to get work done. So obviously, Space Marines, you want something with a little push. And of course, with every single Space Marine, every detachment's a little different. I'm not going to get into the big details there, but what I did want to talk about was, what are your basics? So whether you're going to run Dark Angels and you're going to run Azrael with Hellblasters, or you're going to run Terminators, or you're going to run Blade Guard veterans, or you want to run all jump packs or whatever, any of that's okay. Because like I said, work with the models you got. And I'm going to tell you, the first thing right off the bat is what I want you to do: take the models you want, play the army that you like. If there's a unit that you really like, a unit that you want to play with, jump onto that, because that's the best way to get the most out of your games. I've picked up, look, I started playing Leaf Blower in 7th edition. If you don't know what it is, I realize that there's a lot of people that haven't been playing since 7th edition, but if you know what that is, it dominated the tournament scene. I picked that because I wanted to get into Guard. It was the tanks, it was performing well. I thought that I could get everything together and make it work. And by the time I built my Leaf Blower army, Grey Knights were the top dogs. I guess I missed out. But I did build a very nice Astra Militarum army. I do enjoy playing it. It's it gets probably the least traction out of all my armies, but I do like playing it. It's a lot of fun. And I can theme that one out too. I'm still kind of waiting for the Codex on 10th edition. I'm not sure how long that's going to take. Again, I haven't really gotten a lot of games in 10th edition yet, so I'm not really missing anything as far as that goes. So, getting back to um, list building as a whole. And of course, the biggest thing that you got to think of when you're building your army is not only how many units can I get into it and how many, what types of games am I going to be playing. So if you're looking for 1,000 points for like a crusade, which I tend to do a lot of crusade rules. Haven't played crusades yet in 10th edition, but we're working on it. What I do want to say is, let's say you're building for crusade. So you have 1,000 points to start with. Obviously, you're not going to jam pack as much stuff in because you're only fighting against 1,000 points. So you're trying to, everybody's kind of at this limited scale. 2,000 points gives you more room to breathe. It gives you more units. Obviously, you're going to be fighting more units, but it is good to be give you a little more breathing room as far as getting more units in. So again, like I said, start with the units that you have, the ones that you really like to use. But what I always start out with is I want something that's got a punch. It's the first thing I always put. I need that one item that's got a punch. So let's say you bought the Leviathan box set. You have a couple other units to throw in there. So if you're going to take those units out, you have a perfect start. You have some Terminators. They're not the best, but they're not the worst. But we keep moving forward with it. You know, your battle line units are actually your the flamer guys, the incinerators. So those are a good unit to start with. I think I got the wrong name for those. But what you're going to do next is, of course, you have your units that you can put in with the squads. You want to match your heroes when you're list building into the squads. So obviously, like, you're going to pick, let's say, a chaplain. You want to put a chaplain in with one of your squads. Make sure that he matches with the squads when you're picking the leader. I've seen a couple people, they go out there, they're like, oh, I'm going to throw this Terminator guy in there, and he doesn't have a squad to go with. It's a big mistake early on, especially as a new player. Try to make sure that you can fit your hero with the squad that he's working with. And especially like the Leviathan box. And again, I'm just using that as a baseline here because people know what's in it. If you know, you have a captain in Terminator armor, you also have a librarian in Terminator armor, and one Terminator squad. So you have to figure out, because they both can't be in the same squad, you know, what's going to go in there. So that's one thing to figure out, and you got to work on their abilities that they give to this, you know, their special abilities. So your rites of battle, or your, you know, and the unstoppable valor on the captain, and of course the librarian. And the page here real quick. The librarian and Terminator armor gives you Veil of Time, which is sustained hits, and also the Psychic Hood gives you Feel No Pain against your psychic attacks. So you do have, so now you have your two leaders there. Obviously, one of them goes with the squad, one of them can't. You got to make that work out, or you know, when you start purchasing units to put in there, make sure that, or when you're picking out of your units that you already own, make sure to pick the ones that you will really fit in with this. So, all right. So the next thing is, um, obviously, out of the Leviathan box, the Ballistus Dreadnought is your punching power in there, and there's a lot of units. Nothing can actually pair up with him, but you can um, look for a Tech Marine or something to keep him healed up if that's something that you're looking for, or if you're just going to use him as a backline unit, then you can do that as well. So the next thing is, do you want to use 5-man squads, 10-man squads? Either which way works fine. So like obviously your box set only comes with 5 Terminators, so you're only going to be at 5 Terminators. Your Inferno squad is 10 Marines, and you can just run them in 2 5s, or you can run them in a big 10-man squad. This is where the best thing to do is, if this is the only unit that you have to put out there, throw it out there. See what works for you. Run it as 2 5-man squads, run it as a 10-man squad in a test game. See what you really like to do. Some things work, some things don't, but you'll never know until you give it a shot. And of course, some of the missions, some are better with 5-man squads. Sometimes you really need that 10-man block of guys to really do what they're designed to do. The Inferno squads I think are good 5-man squad. It's hard for me to run them as a 10-man squad, just because with the flamers and their short range, I don't think they do as much. But that's fine too. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, of course, what do you do from there? So, that box set is what, 500, 600 points, something like that. What do I think that box needs? A good thing for Space Marines is Infiltrators, something that you can stop your opponent from deep striking into your area. And the reason that I like that is, you have all these objectives. If you can get like a 5-man Infiltrator squad or a 10-man Infiltrator squad and put them in your backfield, you can protect your objective. Or if you have something that scouts forward on the first turn, you can have them scout forward and claim an objective before the enemy even gets to go. Those are 2 very good uses. The Infiltrators, of course, are great for that backfield or grabbing forward, because they do have the infiltrating role. The other thing, or like I said, anything that has a scout move. After that, I think the next thing you're going to want to think about is, like your Terminators, you can deep strike them into a position where they're going to be more useful. But Terminators are a big investment. There are a lot of points to put out there. Arguably, they don't do what their points equal out to be. And so sometimes you need to keep moving on some stuff. You need to get to their backfield. You want to press their home field objective. So something that deep strikes is great. Assault Marines, your Inceptors, Suppressors, stuff like that. They're nice because they can jump right in that backfield, get a couple punches off, maybe jump where nobody exists. Because the Inceptors, they do have a nice punch. They also have the ability to jump really close to the opponent. But you got to make sure that you're going to be able to withstand fire, because whether you drop them on your turn and move them and shoot them and do that stuff, or you're gonna excuse me, or you're just going to um, try to drop in like a bomb, blow something up, and then let them be had. That's a perfectly good use for them, especially if you go for like a smaller 3-man squad with plasma guns. I mean, plasma incinerators, I believe they are, but the plasma variant over the bolt variant, you can easily drop down and do that and take out something. Sorry. So, um, that's a good something to deep strike into your opponent's backfield, something to press your advantage. The speed always helps when you're talking about moving in the right direction, getting everything moving forward, and getting those objectives so you can win the game. Of course, I'm a big fan of bikes, the Outriders, you know, obviously all the other bikes went to Legends, but the Outriders, you can gladly have bikes. The Outriders move fast, they turbo boost, they can get everywhere you need to be. So that's a good, with their 12 movement, they certainly get where they need to be. I think at this stage of the game, though, I think are, are assault with jump packs are probably a better choice, just because they're a little bit cheaper point wise, and they do have the same movement of 12 inches. So that's a good choice. Again, you want to work with the models that you have. That's always your best choice. So when you're when you're working on your armies, make sure and think this stuff through. Obviously, like I said, the biggest point is play with what you have. You don't know, you don't always need to run out and buy the next best thing. It All that really does is it certainly keeps you in painting models, but it doesn't really do anything to really push um, your advantage, unless you are somebody that has the time to buy a box, put it together, paint it in, your week time or whatever till you have your next tournament or game day. So I said that's some ideas, what what you can do as far as list building. Um, there's definitely a lot of different options, a lot of stuff to move forward with. The other thing that I really wanted to talk about, and this is kind of a Marine specific situation. This is probably the first time that you could really just paint your models the way you like them and then add the characters you want. So if you have all your Space Marines painted green and you want to play Guilliman in your green Space Marines, as long as they're all Ultramarines, which means essentially the only difference there is if you're going to run Guilliman or Marneus Calgar, they're all going to be Ultramarines. Just don't pick characters from a different army type. You can't have Guilliman in with your Kayvon Shrike or, Vulcan Hastan. But realistically, if you got your Ultramarines painted blue and you're so proud of them, but you think you just want to play Azrael and play a Dark Angel, go to it. Nobody's really going to give you grief, and if they do, they're not worth your time anyways. So play what you want to play. if you like a model that you really want to play at this point, just buy it, paint it up. I'm not going to say it, but you could print it. Whatever. Um, I really enjoy painting the models. I do have a 3D printer, but it's not a resin printer, so it doesn't do the miniatures all that well. I do have a lot of scenery that's printed, but not miniatures, because for me that just didn't work out on the filament printer. So that's about it. One thing that I did want to do, as far as this subject goes, I was having a conversation with uh, one of the guys at work, that one of the guys from my group, and he actually talked to me about who's better, Guilliman or the Lion. And the hardest part about all that is they are very different roles, very different roles as far as the Primarchs go. And I want to look this up before I started, but I believe there's about 50-point difference between the two of them. But I did want to make a straight out comparison between the two of them. If you'll just listen to me for just a minute here. And I just wanted to put this out into the universe and onto the internet. So at base level, Guilliman and Lionel Johnson, they both move 8 inches. They're both toughness 9. They both have 2+ saves. Guilliman's got a 4+ save. The Lion has a 3+ save, invulnerable save. Both have 10 wounds. Both have a 5+ leadership. Both have 4+ OC, or 4 objective control. Let me just real quick. Dark Angels supplement data sheets. Should have done this beforehand. Lion is 300 points. Correct. And Space Marines data sheet, sorry, is, oops, where'd he go? He is, I'm just not going to find him. There he is. Guilliman is 350 points. So there is a 50-point difference. Guilliman has the lower invulnerable save, and cost 50 points more. Now, I think, so when you come down to, they both have Oath of Moment. We both have the bodyguard rule, because they're separate. They're monster units. They can't attach. They're not leaders, so they can't attach to a unit. But they do both have the rule where within 3 inches of a unit, they're considered lone op. Therefore, they can't be shot at, unless, of course, there's something that overrides that. Guilliman has Armor of Fate, which is the first time he's destroyed on a 3+, you can set him back up with 6 wounds remaining. And the Lion has the Emperor's Shield, so each time a melee attack is allocated to this model, an unmodified saving throw of 6 bounces a mortal wound back to the enemy, whoever hit him. So, and then of course they have the Author of the Codex for Guilliman, and Primarch of the First Legion for the Lion, and that is the one where you get to pick one of the abilities for that character. So for Guilliman, he has a choice of 3. The first one is Primarch of the 13th, which is an aura. While friendly Adeptus Astartes units are 6 inches of the model, add 1 to the objective control characteristics, and you can reroll Battle Shock and Leadership tests for that unit. Okay, so that's going to keep you with your gaining objectives and holding objectives. Master of Battle is at the start of the command phase. After you've selected your Oath of Moment target, you can select a second enemy unit to have Oath of Moment. So, and then if your Oath of Moment target is destroyed, that second enemy unit becomes the Oath of Moment target until you select a new one. So, that's, of course, a big bump for an army-wide bump. So anything that when you pick your Oath of Moment target, you could say, okay, I want those termagants to be my Oath of Moment, my object of my Oath of Moment. Well, if you destroy them, you now have a second one that you can pick off. So that's very helpful model-wide or army-wide. This way you can eliminate or have a good chance to eliminate 2 separate units in the same battle turn. The last one that he has is the Supreme Strategist, which is once per turn, you can target 1 friendly Adeptus Astartes unit within 12 inches of this model with a stratagem for 0 CP. And of course, you can do so even if another unit in your army has already been targeted with that stratagem this phase. So that gives you free stratagem play. Now, as far as the Lion, he has 3 choices as well. He gets to pick. He has All Secrets Revealed, which is once per turn when your opponent's targets a unit from that army with a stratagem, but before the stratagem's effect are resolved, if that unit is within 12 inches of this model, you gain 1 CP, and that enemy must take a Battle Shock test. If that test is failed, in addition to that being Battle Shocked, the stratagem effects are not resolved. So, okay, yeah, when your opponent targets a unit from their army. So that's a responsive. So if they don't do anything within the 12 inches, you could pick that and nothing happens. The next one is the Martial Exemplar. That gives, well, friendly Adeptus Astartes units within 6 inches of this model. Each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add +1 to the hit roll. Just for melee attacks. I understand how that is with the Lions thing. Not really the Dark Angels theme, but it certainly works for Inner Circle Companions, works for Blade Guards, works for your Assault Intercessors. You know, as long as they're close to the Lion. The next one, or I should say the last one, is No Hiding from the Watchers, and that's while friendly Adeptus Astartes units within 6 inches of this model in that unit have Feel No Pain 4+ save, Feel No Pain 4+ ability against mortal wounds. That's handy, and a good choice for him. So we've been through the abilities. The Lion also has Deep Strike and Fights First, which of course does give him a bump in close combat over Guilliman in my mind. And then the last thing to cover here, now obviously either one of them can be attached to a model, to a unit. They're both separate, but they do get that lone op as long as they're close to a unit. So you're probably going to run these guys, whether it's Guilliman, you're going to run them behind Marneus Calgar, or a unit of Terminators, or a unit of whatever, something pretty tanky, or run them next to in between 2 units of intercessors or heavy intercessors, or whatever you're playing with. Obviously, you don't want to pick something that moves faster than he does. You could actually run him right behind a Land Raider or something like that so he gets all the effects without missing out. As far as weapons go, and I think this is the last part of the difference, is Guilliman gets the Hand of Dominion, which is Rapid Fire 2 with a 30-inch range. So it's essentially a high-powered bolt gun, heavy bolter maybe closer to a heavy bolter. 2 attacks, hits on a 2 or better, strength 6, -2 AP with damage 2. So the Lion actually has a combi bolt plasma pistol called Armin Luminous. Only has a 12-inch range. Of course, it's got 2 different profiles. 4 shots with the bolt style, 2 or better to hit, strength 4, -1 AP with 2 damage, or the plasma variant choice of shot, which is only 2 shots at 2 or better, strength 8, -3 with 2 damage. It's hard because, like, Guilliman's is certainly the in between of the 2 different profiles for the Lion's pistol. So I would say probably the best choice there would be Guilliman. It certainly has the higher strength. It's got the longer range. He is a melee. He does very well in melee as well, which we're going to get to in a second. So you're probably not going to keep him at that 30-inch range. The Lion really doesn't have any strength at longer than 12 inches, so you're going to run forward, use those pistols, and charge into combat as soon as you can. So as far as melee weapons, both of them basically have a strike and a sweep, so I'm going to compare them together. The Emperor's Sword, which is essentially his sweep, is 14 attacks at hits on 2 or better, strength 8, -3 AP with 2 damage. The Lion, using fealty in the sweep, oh, and he does have devastating wounds with that. So of course you do realize when you have devastating wounds, 6 to hits means you'll get no armor save from that. So that's of course very handy. So you will acquire automatic hits on that. Fealty, on the other hand, is 16 attacks, so it's 2 more attacks. They both hit on 2 or better. Has a strength 6, so it's a lower strength, but I think 6 to 8 on infantry. 8, of course, in most cases will be double, so you'll need 2 or better to wound, where the Lion will need 3 or better to wound. They're both at -3 AP. Guilliman does 2 damage on that attack, where the Lion does 1. Now, I think the balancing act here is the Hand of Dominion, which gives you lethal hits. And that compared to fealty with the strike, which also gives you lethal hits. They're both melee. Guilliman gets 7 attacks, where the Lion gets 8. They're both 2 or better to hit. Guilliman has a strength 14 on that sword with 7 attacks, where the Lion has strength 6 on 16 attacks. AP -4 for Guilliman, AP -3 for the Lion, and they both, I'm sorry, that's AP -4 as well, so they're both AP -4 with 4 damage. So I think when it really comes down to it is how you're going to tactically play these guys. I do think that the Lion probably in melee combat alone is probably a touch tougher. I the Brendan specifically, we're gonna at one of these times we're going to put these models on the table and have it duke it out, and see what comes of it. I think. I mean, we're talking they're both toughness 9, so nobody doubles out toughness with any of the attacks. I don't know. I think if they just went toe to toe, I think, and Gilliman got his Armor of Fate off, I think Gilliman would take the lion. But I think if he didn't get his Armor of Fate off, I think that the lion would win. So I think it would literally be that close where it would be a roll of their Armor of Fate as to who would win. And and I mean, those devastating wounds from Gilliman, that's pretty scary. But I don't know. I mean, if you're going to be fighting the lion, you probably want the 14 strength, the 4 damage. I mean, realistically speaking, whoever got the charge off would be in the best shape. So if Gilliman got the charge off and he struck with the Hand of Dominion, and I'm just using hypotheticals here, the 7 attacks at 2 or better, so you're probably going to hit probably 6 of the attacks with lethal hits. At least one would be lethal hits. Strength 14, so you need 2 to hit, 3 or better to wound. So you get 6 to wound. You're going to get 4 of them. At -4 armor save with 4 damage. I mean, this could be a 1-turn fight. I mean, even to the point where you wouldn't. Well, okay, so I lied, because Lionel Johnson gets the fight's first ability. So that means he would fight before Gilliman would attack. If he would take the strike with the lethal hits, you have 8 attacks. So your odds are about the same. You're going to hit probably 6 times. You're going to wound 4 times. At -4, 4 damage. 4 plus invulnerable save. Yeah, I kind of think it would be up to what happens with the Armor of Fate. I think it's just down to that. If Gilliman gets the Armor of Fate, if Gilliman doesn't get the Armor of Fate, Lionel Johnson would beat him. If he does get the Armor of Fate, I don't think the Lion's going to get a second round of attacks. I think it's just that simple. I mean, in all reality, I think they're pretty well matched up. With Gilliman has the bonus for the more of his army, because of course I'm not even including the abilities, the Primarch abilities, because that would change things just a little bit. Because if they both took, and geez, you gotta include Oath of Moment in there if they're gonna oath each other. Jeez, that's a tough fight. I think in either way. I do think that Gilliman's got a chance. I mean, Gilliman he can do more damage all the way around, because he's going to shoot a couple guys before he charges into combat. Probably whatever the bodyguard squad, the squad you're going to have in front of him. The Lion, not so much. I mean, 4 shots, a bolt pistol will hit. I mean, even if you use two plasma shots and you hit with both of them, say against Terminators, I mean, you might kill a Terminator. Where Gilliman's got, he's got 2 shots, strength 6. I don't know. It's really close. I mean, obviously Gilliman would get an extra turn of shooting before he would charge, but that's not really that much of a difference. So, well, we're gonna have to put that on the battlefield and see what comes up from it. I do appreciate that you listened to me deep dive into these 2 Primarchs to see who's laid out better. I think probably the Lion's probably easier to put in an army, only because he's cheaper, but 50 points difference. It's close. It's real close. I don't know that I would actually pick which one I would jump in on. So, all right. Well, that's a little more than a little deeper than I intended to go today. I do appreciate that you listened to everything that I did here, and I appreciate you coming and watching me talk about list building and talking about Primarchs of the Imperium for a little bit. So, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next time.